Hello and welcome back to Blood and Ashes. This is episode 96, where we will cover Crossroads of Twilight, chapters 5 through 8. I'm your host Mo, and I'm joined once again by my puzzled friends, Willie.
Very puzzled.
And Jody.
Not so puzzled. I know exactly what's going on. It's Moritz that has no idea what's going on.
Well, actually, it's a bit like that. Like, I'm running into the same thing that Willie did in the beginning when he was reading quite far ahead. Because if you read ahead, you increase the amount of time until you have to talk about those chapters. So your memory starts fading and you actually have to go back and read it again to even refresh your memory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You do a lot of extra work.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't read ahead. I haven't even read all the chapters for today's recording. Smart.
So of the chapters you did read, Jody, what did you think of them? I was, like I said, I hinted at this in the previous episode, that things with Perrin seem to come to a point pretty quickly. Like,
yeah,
the whole trudging through the snow thing that we keep beating is
yeah. I'm not beating that
such
drum.
a big deal.
No.
There
was no drum. I mean, literally, end of last book, Fail's gone. Let's go look for her. Mm-hmm. Start of this book, it's 22 days later. Like, okay. I didn't have to trudge through the snow for 22 days with him.
No.
Just skip ahead. And then chapter 3, yeah, we find them. There they are. Okay.
See, I predicted
exactly.
this in both of you,
Chuff.
that you're going to have this upbeat, wow, this was quick. So I thought I was just going to be a little bit on the cynical side of my analysis, and especially around Perrin. You become a little bit scathing.
Of Perrin. Ooh, interesting. Okay, save that spice for the chapters when we get there.
Them's fighting words.
Them is fighting words.
Speaking of fighting words, should we go into everyone's favorite section called callbacks? Okay, so last time you guys gave me a bit of stick for not knowing the percentages of each book that the prologue occupied. So I dutifully went back and checked the total pages and length of the prologues in each of the books that I have in various different publications, like hardbacks and paperbacks. And
oh, wow. Okay.
so these numbers are according to the physical books that I have, right? So I've got all sorts of different ones. So they might differ slightly from someone's, but the percentages, I guess, should play out similarly.
That's the point of percentages, I think.
Yes. All right. Book 1, the prologue was 7 pages. That's 1% of the book.
Nice.
Book 2, 2%. Book 3, 3%. Book 4, 4%.
And here's where it goes south.
Yes. So book 4 technically doesn't have a prologue, but that first chapter has quite a few POVs, and it is that long. But then in book 5, it's back down to 3%. Book 6, it's 7%. Book 7, it's 6%. Book 8, it's 5%, so winding down again. And then book 9, 11%. Book 10, 12%.
Ooh.
So the last 2 books certainly have had significantly bigger prologues than the previous book. So I wonder how that goes through the rest of the series, especially like when Brandon takes the wheel.
If that percentages was down and this was a stock market, they'd call it a crash. So
the moment it's a bull market, yes? I don't know. I'm not
On the
sure.
rise?
I know there's a bull and a bear.
It's a bull market if prices are going up.
And a bear, because a bear mauls you.
Yes, the bull flicks up with its horns and the bear strikes down with its paw. So the market's going down, it's a bear
Is
market.
that how you remember it, or is that literally why it's called that?
That is a very good question to which I do not have the answer. Not a definitive one. Okay, what else did we talk about? Matt's rolling dice. Remember, Mick had sent in a long theory about how the dice in Matt's head could all, or seem to all point towards specifically his union with Tuon, or so far at least. And so I went and I found a register of all the references to every time the dice roll in Matt's head. And we can see where they start. Oh, I should say, I got this list from the from the Tower Library at library.tarvalon.net. So this is not my hard research. Someone else did this for me. In The Dragon Reborn, actually, it happens the first time. He could feel the dice tumbling in his head after deciding to rescue the girls from the stone. So before going to the Finns. So not related to the Finns, as I'd previously stated in the previous episode. I said, you know what, it came with the Finns, and maybe it's tied to their prophecy to him about the daughter of the Nine Moons. But yeah, it seems like it started before. Then in Book 5, in Fires of Heaven, leading up to the battle with the Shido around Kyrian, when we know Matt will start fighting battles he has no business winning and forming the band of the Red Hand, right? So that's what those are all about. In Lord of Chaos, then again, in Book 6, when looking for an inn and finding the Wandering Woman, which you could argue is leading him towards Tuon. A Crown of Swords a number of times around moving into the palace. So early on, shortly after recognizing Noel from seeing him elsewhere, I think this is the one that Mick had also referenced with the girls. When the girls are traveling to the Sea Folk to go negotiate with him, Avienda suggests that they use Matt to find the Bowl of the Winds, his luck, and his Taverian nature specifically, not his luck. And then we think that that's when they started tumbling in his head then. And then later in the Tarazan Palace, on his third day there, the dice had started again, probably when the Shawnchan fleet carrying Tuon set off for Ibudar, setting in motion his meeting with the Daughter of the Nine Moons. And then they stop when that wall falls on him at the end of that book. In Winter's Heart, they're all about Tuon, and they stop when he meets her. And then in Crossroads of Twilight, in this book, they stop twice, but both after Tuon says or does something. And then coming up, I remember I said to Mick, the proof is in the pudding here, right? What happens with Matt's dice then after he is married to Tuon? Like, what happens beyond that in the story? Do we see them again? And it does seem like we do. In Life of Dreams, there are 3 sets of dice rolling around in Matt's head at the same time around the morning after Renna's death. The first stops when Eludra agrees to accompany him when he leaves Lucas' show. And the second stops when he gives Tuon a razor as a courting gift. And the third stops when he agrees to help Tom rescue Moraine. So a couple of things there not directly related to Tuon. And then there's, do you want to hear further ones? I always feel weird holding back on spoilers on a spoiler cast. Like, do you want to hear what some of the other references are later?
Sure. I'm going to forget them anyway. So it's fine.
You make a very valid point, Jody. Okay, so in Gathering Storm, as the mayor of Hindestap leaves Matt and his group, and after apprising them of the rules, he is joined by some burly men casually carrying axes. They fall into step with the mayor, all walk together in the same direction as though nothing is untoward. It is then that the dice start rolling in Matt's head. He decides to ignore them. Moments before the sun sets behind the clouds while Matt gambles with the villagers, he tells Tomanes that they are staying. At this, the dice stop rattling in his head. Do you guys remember the town of Hintestap?
I do indeed.
Do you, Vil?
Book 11.
Oh, no, I don't know. Gathering Storm. Could be. Shit. It is. Showing my whole ass here.
Yeah, I might have read this or not. I mean,
isn't Knife of Dreams number 11?
It is.
It is. Gathering Storm then would be 12. And then in Towers of Midnight, the dice begin rattling in the dead man's breath when Matt hears of a man drained of blood. Later on, during Matt's stay in Camelin, the dice stop when Matt leaves the dusty wheel. The golem appears shortly after. So there are certainly events that I think are not related to Tuon that trigger the dice, like the golem stuff. And, unless you say anything that poses a danger to Matt prevents him. Like if he dies, then he can't be with Tuon and the prophecy can't be fulfilled. What?
Let's look at each and every event again.
No.
And see if there was a moment of stupid luck that he got. Because the dice is about his luck, and it's about going back to the Finns where he wanted to.
Maybe the battles around Kyrian, but then he's also got all those memories of the generals, right? So he says in his points of view in that battle with the Shido, that he's being so lucky, you can't believe how lucky he is, but he is also a very skilled general, so he's like a bit of an unreliable narrator. When he's
but in those things, the dice didn't rattle. And
they rattled just before he goes out to battle to go form the band. I'm assuming it's because he's going to be forming the Band of the Red Hand, but it's when he's telling Rand he's going to leave, he's going to go, and then he tries to escape, and he runs into all these soldiers all the time, and his group starts growing, and they start winning battles against groups of Aiel warriors that outnumber them. And that's how the band is formed. So I don't know.
It's not related to his luck. It's just related to major events happening in his life. Not specifically the luck.
No.
Lucky events?
I think the luck is probably more like a straight to Perrin thing. It's more closely resembles being a Taverin, like the pattern changing around you to accommodate you.
Maybe the dice announces the changing of the pattern.
He is known as the gambler, so it would be suitable for his pattern to be altered in that way, like specifically when gambling. Anyway, yeah. So, Mick, love the theory. Let's see when we get into it. It's one thing reading off a bunch of fucking bullet point list items, right? We'll see the context when we actually get to those chapters in those books. Another cool thought that someone had about the dice, though, is a user on Reddit who thought Matt's luck is a direct counter to the concept of the Dark One's own luck, a phrase we hear all the time. In The Dragon Reborn, Egwene is having her prophetic dreams, and when thinking about some of them, she says that, what did it mean that Matt was dicing with the Dark One, and why did he keep shouting, I'm coming? And why did she think in the dream that he was shouting at her? Because it is when he was on his way to save them from the Stone of Tyr. And it's just a cool image, like his luck going against that of the Dark One in the form of rattling dice. And like when they're spinning in his head, it's like they're still spinning in the cup. And when they land in the game with the Dark One, that's when his fate is sealed in his reality. Don't know. Cool. I thought it was a fun thought.
That is cool.
Okay, now on to some more mundane topics, such as, did Egwene shave her head? The answer is yes, she did, and it shamed her. It mortified her. She hated it. Troop numbers, Karede's force that he had assembled outside of Ibudar, 100 of the Death Watch Guard, with 20 Ogier Gardeners, 6 Damane, and a cluster of Suldam. So yeah, he can do a lot of damage with that.
Formidable.
That feels like a unit to punch a hole through a defensive line, right? Like just throwing everything it has at something and breaking through it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it for callbacks.
What? Mart's dropped the ball this week.
Not at all. Honestly, I think the subject matter of the last couple of chapters was just so straightforward. We didn't have to venture too far in the realm of our own fanfic to explain events. But just not a lot of callbacks about last week's chapters.
All right. Which
brings us to listener contributions, of which we also have none.
What? Everyone's dropping the ball. Come on, guys.
It's been a while, hey? Like, I can't remember an episode when we didn't have any listener contributions, but I think everyone put in so much effort, like, over the long break, which is why half the episode last time was listener submissions. I think everyone was tapped out, so, yeah, interesting. Maybe it's the subject matter. I hope people haven't bounced off because it's book 10. Hope they haven't. I'm gonna keep cheerleading it.
Well, check the stats. I mean, we've got download statistics. We know exactly not who. We know who's downloading our podcast and where you live.
We know who you are. Some of them for real.
Oh, yeah, we do actually know what country you're in, but that's about it.
Okay, well, that means that we can quickly do a recap of the last episode before forging ahead. So, previously on Blood and Ashes, Matt recounts their escape from Ibudar amidst the confusion of the freed Windfinder's own escape, thanks to Matt. He and his party have joined Valen Lucas' circus and are hiding in plain sight right outside the city rather than herring off like the Sean Chan would expect. He and Egwene are having a bit of a power struggle to see who's calling the shots, but between him and Tuon, there can be no doubt who's running the show despite her apparent cooperation. After a close call with some Sean Chan officers checking for horses, both Luca and Matt decide it's time to get moving. Tuon basically decides she will go with Matt and won't cause a disturbance or try to escape. Tom arrives with news of Tyland's death at the hands of what sounds like a golem, and Matt is racked with guilt. He's allowed no time to grieve as he's summoned by the Aes Sedai, whom he tells they are leaving for Lugard immediately. They protest, mentioning a massive channeling event they think is linked to the Forsaken, but Matt knows it's Rand and tells them to suck it up, they're going. We then jump to Banner General Furik Karede of the Death Watch Guards, who is visited by the KGB agent Elmarat Moore. Moore brings a rumor about someone matching Tuon's description, strong-arming merchants in the city for gold, but Karede has already heard this rumor. Moore also poses a theory about Suroth conspiring with Aes Sedai and have the involvement somehow of Matt, Tom, and the Damane that have been freed. Grady is not intimidated by Moore, but decides he needs to go looking for Tion. He gathers a small force outside the city, and when he joins them the next day, they set off in search of Tion and her kidnappers. Which brings us to Chapter 5, The Forging of a Hammer. Joe, please forge ahead with your summary.
Yeah, let me open my notes quick. Hang on. This show, this episode has gone so fast. I'm not even ready.
It's just going. It's off the rails.
Woo! Okay, notes open. I got it. Chapter 5, Forging of a Hammer, right? Okay, Perrin, good old beefy boy, he's back. He is in the Wolf Dream. He is having a light run through the snow in the Wolf Dream when he gets a whiff of a scent that makes his hackles rise. The whiff of scent of death, and runs straight towards it, because, that's what you do. But then he wakes up under a wagon in the snow, like freezing his beard off. I'm just like, dude, sleep in the wagon. Why are you sleeping on the floor under the wagon? Because no one's going to look there if they get attacked, I imagine. It's, strategy, apparently. The dream
It's just so selfless, Jody.
I know. Unless someone, just fires a flaming arrow into the thing, and doesn't matter if it's either below. So the dream is lingering with him. It's not going anywhere. It was a formidable scent. It was the wolf dream. So he knows what he experienced wasn't a fantasy. So he's like going to reach out to see if there are any wolves in the area and who he can ask about it. They are hard to find, but they are there. They're just very, very far off. Introductions are made, and he's quite a celebrity among wolves now. So he's never met this specific pack before, but they all know everything about him. And they all want to chat with him until he asks about that smell. Then all of a sudden they're a bunch of pussies and they run off. When only one wolf is left in their group chat, it tells him only that the last hunt is coming, and then he bounces too. So Perrin's like, thanks for nothing, guys. He ties that 22nd knot in the string he carries for his morning ritual. That's 22 days since Fael has taken. And this is what we were talking about earlier. Like, thanks, Jordan, for not putting us through 22 days of this cock. So, as a refresher, Robert Jordan also gives us a recap of who else was taken with her, because he's like, I've got a responsibility to blah, 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 and he lists all these people and who they are and where they came from, and it's Aliandre, remember, Queen of Gaelden. Bane and Chiad are taken, Arella and Lucille, those fools that he's not too fond of, and of course, Mygden or Morgaze. So he also recounts the early days when he was too hasty to find her, and the errors he made and the resulting time lost by just gateway jumping randomly around the map when they did eventually find the traces of the Shido. So he's recounting these 22 days that have passed. When they do eventually find traces of the Shido that they've been hunting for 22 days, it was literally 2 days east of the very first spot that they had opened a gateway to. And I'm like, hey man, don't beat yourself up. Like, hindsight is 2020, So he's basically wasted 20 days. They now have a much more measured approach to the search. Like they're only gateway jumping as far as the scouts can go, and they're going in the morning and coming back at sundown. So like very, very controlled approach to this. Much, much better than just freaking out and jumping all over the place. So they have also noticed a huge increase in the number of Shido. It's like, well, dude, wait until the last chapter. They are picking up, they seem to be picking up smaller bands as they travel. It's like when they find some traces, it's like more footprints have joined them and things like that. So probably those Shido, I was thinking it's probably those Shido that were thrown all over the place by Samael through those little dice metal cube traveling thingies, whatever they're called.
The idiot boxes, weren't they?
The idiot boxes, yes, exactly. So they're regrouping. Didn't work too well. And leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. There's everywhere they go, there's burnt buildings, there's raided farms, people are being stolen, food has been confiscated. So usual Shido tactics. They're such a bunch of cheeky scamps. They had to cross the river Eldar at one point, Perrin and them, and they just used gateways to do it. But he's like, how the hell did all those Shido do it if they're scared of water? And the ferry is all burnt and fucked up. And I'm like, I don't know either how they did that. Does anybody have any clue how you get 100,000 Shido across a river? It's a genuine question.
Can you get them by the husk?
leap up and grab onto all the messenger pigeons flying around.
Okay, sorted. That's how.
I mean, do they not say it? Do they not like build bridges? Probably, I would imagine. I can't imagine them taking on something like creating barges or boats or anything like that. Like,
But there's just so many of them that they build bridges like ants do, just like holding on to each other.
human bridges, yes, it's holding each other's ankles and wrists.
Yeah, that must be it. They're gripping it by the husk is also option number 2. So anyway, whatever. Everyone's across the river. That's all you need to know.
Mm-hmm.
His party, Perrin's party that is drawing eyes wherever they go with their Red Eagle of Manetherin flag and their wolf banner, and there's a Mayeno banner, and there's a Gildan banner, and then also there's just Aiel running around in between them, sprinkled amongst this, and they're scaring the shit out of the locals. Like, they're trying to get information, like questioning these poor people who have been harassed horrendously by the Shido, and then, you know, some Aiel of theirs will pop in and they'll go running off. So eventually they catch some people and question them, and they find out that the Shido carried off some of their people only 2 days ago. So it's like, oh shit, we're close, so close, and we're just 2 days behind the Shido. So they know when it was, and they know what direction they're going. Sweet. So now he's thinking, well, I've sent the scouts out. They're always hunting, and the Ashaman as well, opening gateways. So they must have found them or are going to find them very, very soon. Here we are. It's done. So after all of his thinkiness, our thinky boy is ready to get out of bed. Yeah, this entire time he's still lying under the wagon on the freezing ground. He loops his battle axe onto his belt while Aram moves from the shadows like a fade to join him. He just materializes. He tells Perrin that Baller and Salande want to see him, and they're like kind of standing off to one side. So Perrin sends him off to go and prep his horse, and he goes to meet those two. Baller is leading the conversation. Even Salande's part. He's in charge. She's not happy, but she doesn't say anything. So she tells Perrin she's learned 3 things last night. Semicolon 1, 2, and 3. Javier, another of those play Aiel, is spying on Masema, and he saw Masema sent another rider back to Amadicia yesterday. He was with Nerion, another one of those fools, who tried to follow the rider but lost him. Now, Perrin is using them as spies, since he found out that his wife is using them as spies. He was like, all right, keep on spying them, but just report to me. And he tells Salande's assistant, like, tell those fools of yours that they are to watch only. Don't go running off after them. You know, someone's going to die. No more following. Number 2, the second piece of news is that Javier also saw barrels of salt fish and salt beef with Altaran markings on them. Perrin's like, yes, I know. Everyone knows that they're raiding and looting and they're getting it from the towns. I know what he's like, where the food's coming from. Tell me what Messina is planning. That's what I want to know. Javier, number 3, this is part 3. Javier also saw 2 Aes Sedai entering Massema's tent for meetings. Like, bitch, lead with that. Like, that's the most important information. Oh, they have salt beef. Oh, and Aes Sedai are meeting them. Like, yes. So 2 Aes Sedai are entering Massema's tent for meetings, and he's identified them as Missouri, by her warder with her, and Anura. Anura doesn't give a fuck. She just cruises wherever she wants. So Massema's meeting
Did you say, Joe?
What?
Sorry to interrupt. Did you say into Massema's tent or into Massema's camp?
I said tent, but possibly camp. Regardless, they're meeting with him.
There could be some fuckery there. There's events with Masema later that indicate him being tampered with by people, and a lot of references made to the sighting of Anura and Missouri in his camp, but never actually meeting him. So there could be someone else who's also manipulating him that they could be meeting. I don't know. Like, there's some interesting developments around this later in the story. It seems benign. Well, not benign. Like you said, it is important, but it's sort of like,
Yeah. Aes Sedai are sneaking into the camp of man who hates Aes Sedai and wants to see them all dead. Like, that's important.
Aes Sedai who have also said that Perrin should kill him like a dog.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Important news. This should have been point number 1.
Yes.
Selende. All right. But anyway, regardless, Aes Sedai are there. That's what we need to know. And there's a lot of that in these chapters. A lot of Perrin going, what's going on with these guys? Later on in other chapters as well, he's like, anyway, we'll get to those chapters. So yeah, Masema's meeting with the Aes Sedai. Very strange. But this is more like the news he wanted from the spies, so he tells her to tell the spies to see if they can eavesdrop next time they're around. Like, ooh. Mm-hmm. So if you do get to hear what they are saying to Masema, let me know. He figures he'd better say something encouraging to Selende, so he tells her, like, you did well. Fail would be proud, I suppose. And Selende almost wets herself. Baller is impressed. She's so stoked.
She is stoked.
Beaming with pride.
I was stoked for her.
Yeah. She's like, oh, thanks, man. Baller is also impressed by Perrin, and he dismisses Selende as he has news to tell Perrin in private. So, I mean, he dismisses her. He's just basically like, thank you, ma'am. You may go. But she's so stoked and happy for the praise that she doesn't, think of anything of it, and she leaves. So once she's gone, he tells Perrin, like, hey, I'm actually impressed with her too. She's got good instincts. This Kyrenian normally do, they just grow up in an environment where you gotta see things and understand things that other people wouldn't. So Baller won't talk in front of Aram. Doesn't trust the O. Even if Perrin tells him it's okay, like you can talk in front of him, he's like, nope. So
and who turned out to be right there?
Did you always trust Baller? Yes. So he tells him to walk. The Perrin tells Aram, just go walk a bit behind us. Aram not pleased, stinking of fury and jealousy. Like the only person
so
he's not
predictable.
Yeah, he's not the only person he's not jealous of is Fail. That hangs out with Perrin. Everyone else is an interloper. Yeah. So they're walking through the camp that is beginning to come to life. It's like pre-dawn now. There's light on the horizon. So people are getting up and starting to make cook fires and eat gruel and whatnot. And they're greeting him, and others are like, some are greeting him, and others are like eyeballing him carefully and maliciously in some cases. Like his two rivers men are openly ignoring him and giving him the side eye. So I forgot completely during the interval why his two rivers men would be like that. But it's that rumor that he had sex with Berylane on the first night that Fael disappeared, because remember he slept in her tent. Well, they took him there. Well, she took him there. So,
I remember thinking the first time I read that stuff back in the day, my memory of it at least is that this was so long and protracted as well. This whole like, Perrin, everyone thinks Perrin's hooking up with Berylane, like it was happening over time, but it was just that one time. Like it was just that one time. In my memory, Robert Jordan was sort of like playing this whole thing up to be this whole fucking saga, but it's been totally benign. It's fine.
Are you sure that back in the book when this happened, when he was sleeping outside, that he didn't willingly go to Berylane's tent?
Well, I think he was unconscious with like just about hypothermia, so he was rescued and carried.
I mean, that is his memory, but his memory could be wrong.
Maybe.
Don't fall for it, Moritz. Look at Willie trying to hide.
No,
that smile.
I'm just humoring him so that we don't have to drag this out too long.
Shit stirrer deluxe.
Anyway, sorry, Joe. Do continue.
No worries. That's why we're here. Talk about shit. So it was that rumor that he slept. It was only once, and it was against his will. He was passed out, Willie. But his old friends and his neighbors believe that shit. Out of everyone in the camp.
I've heard that excuse before, Jody.
Yeah.
Was passed out. Don't remember.
Were you about to say you've used that excuse before?
No, not me.
No.
Never.
If between the three of us, if someone's talking about people being passed out, I think he may be referring to me. But
I don't know. I've got a pretty bad record myself.
So I thought, like, out of everyone in the camp who wouldn't believe it, it would be those guys, the guys who know him. But no,
his boys.
It isn't. Jory Conga even spits on the ground when Perrin passes him. Like, fuck, bro. And Ban Craw, remember the another two rivers dude, has to like punch him in the shoulder and keep him in line. But noticeably also doesn't look at Perrin. It's not like, hey man, don't do that to Perrin. It's more of a punch that's like, hey man, don't draw attention to us.
You're gonna get us caught
while we judge him. Yeah.
I said judge him in silence.
Yes. Lamgwin is also there, if you recall. He's Perrin's body servant now. I forgot about that. Although Perrin is dirty as fuck and stinky. Lamgwin's not doing much of a job. But out of that group, remember, there's Lamgwin, Brienne, Basil, and Linny. Lamgren is the only one that's happy to see Perrin. And then he gets a smack on the arm for it as well from Brienne. Like, don't engage with that bastard. It's like, oh man. He can't even go.
Son of a bitch.
Like that little group of his, and he can't, like, that's the closest group of confidants he has, and he can't, they all think he's a slime ball. So Perrin heads over to the Usherman. Like, he's not going to hang out with the Mayonnaires or anything. So he's like, well, these Two Rivers guys are a bunch of assholes. I'm going to go hang out with the Usherman. Like, wow, you've really come down a rank or two, eh? Where Grady couldn't give two shits about anything. He's still snoring away in his blanket. So he's like, well, never mind. So I'll keep walking. And he walks right out of the camp, past the stakes, and go check out that tree line. He's just tired of everyone now. Baller thinks this is far enough now to not be overheard and decides he can talk freely to Perrin. Perrin already knows what he's going to say, though. He's like, yeah. You think those riders sent by Masema are going to the White Cloaks. But Perrin reminds him that they could just as easily be going to the Shawnshan, who are also in that same direction, and have much more in common with Masema. So Baller is convinced that the opposite is true. That Baller is convinced that they have much more. The White Cloaks have much more in common with Masema in that they both hate Aes Sedai. Talking about Aes Sedai, Masuri wouldn't visit Masema without the Wise Ones knowing about it, because she's one of those apprentices now to the Wise Ones. So there's no way she's sneaking off on her own. So he's pretty sure if she's going into that Aiel camp, the Wise Ones are telling her to do it. And he's also pretty sure Berylane wouldn't send Anura either, so she must be acting on her own too. This is his theories. Baller agrees, like, this is a possibility. Like, yeah, sure, everything's a possibility. So Perrin suggests just asking them, just ask Anura. She's Aes Sedai, she can't lie. But Baller's like, nah, I would advise against that. Sometimes it's better to be sneaky about things, not just like, because that's just going to open a whole other can of worms. Because they're going to know, like, how do you know? They're going to ask, how do you know that we're meeting him? And he's like, oh, I've got spies following you around.
Yes.
So best just to avoid that line of questioning. Again, Aram had snuck up behind them in the meantime and is livid. He's like, I told you can't trust Aes Sedai. Perrin's like, fuck off, bro.
I just told you to get back so we can have privacy.
And there he is again.
You did the opposite of that. You had one job.
So he literally tells it to piss off. And he leaves again. And this time he doesn't smell jealous. He smells pissed off. He's angry. Well, whatever, bro. Fuck off.
Have you ever watched The Room, Jody?
Huh?
Have you ever watched The Room?
The Room? No.
The Tommy Wiseau movie. The one that's like notoriously bad. And they made a Netflix movie about the making of it with James Franco.
Oh, yes, Tommy Wiseau.
Yes. Anyway, I have watched The Room a couple of times, and I watched it again recently when I was in Newcastle. And there's a character in that movie that reminds me of Aram. It is like a neighboring boy that was 16 or something when this lead character adopted him. But by the time the movie is taking place, he's 18. He's over 18. He's finished school. But he just hangs around them even when they like go up to their bedroom and start getting into foreplay and stuff. He's like in there, in the sheets between them. Like, just like, hey guys, I can be part of this too. And they're like, oh, Donnie, you little scamp. You're such a fun little buddy. But run along now. It's time for us to... That's what Aram is like. He can't... He's told to stay back and not listen to the chat with Baller, and then does exactly the opposite. Just can't peel himself away from Perrin.
My brother-in-law has a border collie like that. Same
a Bulwer collie.
A Bulwer collie, yes.
That was bad. Cut that.
Good. No. Staying in. So, Perrin figures it might be possible to send Fael's fools to go mingle with the Aiel, since they want to be Aiel so badly, and then maybe the higher-up nobles among them go hang out with Berylane's people, and then they can have some spies in there, and they can find out what's happening, because if Berylane is sending Anura, they can get some info from her, and the Aiel Wise Ones, if the other guys can go hang out there, they can find out what the Wise Ones are up to. So Baller is impressed again. He's like, that's a fucking good plan. In fact, it's the same plan I had been thinking about. And Perrin's like, all right, go off, you go organize that. But before you go, don't try to manipulate me anymore. I know exactly that you were trying to prod me in this direction anyway. I see what you did there. But in the future, just tell me what you were thinking of. And
speak plainly.
Tell me what you want and what your ideas are. And if I like them, we'll do it. I'll always listen. Maybe I disagree. but I'll always listen. And this is strange to Paulo because he's never had a boss that wanted his opinion before.
Yes.
But he's like, cool, like my last boss, and he started talking about like poison needles, and parents thinking like, holy shit, well, who did you work for before me? It was like, you're so terrified all the time. So before heading off as well, he tells Perrin like, hey man, like I'm enjoying this job. Like thanks for putting me on the payroll. I'm not going to go anywhere, you know. I'm not trying to butter you up or try and flatter you and stuff. I'm sincere. Like I think you're quite a clever guy. You're not the same kind of clever as my old previous boss, who was considered very clever. You're clever in a different way, but you got a head on your shoulders, boy. So after he leaves, Aram is there again. Just doesn't get it.
Just like in the back of the shot all the time.
Just always like peeking around.
Looking over Perrin's shoulder.
Jesus. And again, telling Perrin, no, I don't trust that Bulwer guy. And like Perrin's like, fuck, dude. You gotta trust somebody, man. And,
rainbow space.
She's like, Jesus. And that's how the chapter ends.
Yeah. Straight into it. Willem, do you have any thoughts beyond what we've already poked at?
Yeah. The thinky boy is gonna think the first half of the chapter under the frozen wagon. That is the pace at which this sets out. But just a few things on the numbers there. Masema's army, 10 to 12,000.
Yes.
Madmen.
Fiends.
Yeah.
Things.
Reprobates.
Apt.
Perrin's only a quarter of that at about 2,500 to 3,000 fighting men. But there's 3 Aes Sedai, 2 Ashaman, and 6 wise ones with him. So there is a considerable side
I can cause some damage.
Yeah, but when you say he's got Aes Sedai, he's got no Aes Sedai. 2 of those Aes Sedai are wise ones Aes Sedais.
They'll fall in line when the rubber hits the road. They'll come to the party. Look at Dumai's Wells.
And Honora, she's doing her own thing. I don't even think Berylane controls her.
No. That actually plays out in a big way later in the series. This is like the beginning of a huge plot line between the 2 of them, Berylane and Honora. So actually keep an eye on that.
Will do.
Yeah, the Cha-Ail is being used to great effect by Perrin.
Chafail.
Cha, whatever.
The F is for fools.
It's for falcon talons.
So, what else? Okay, Baller is well and truly skeptical of Aram. It's palatable when it's
rightfully so.
Yeah, the feeling's
and
mutual.
when he gets sent away, Aram smells like sour grapes. Like he lost something, and poor Baller still stalks at him, looks at whether he does that. There's a belief that Masema's men killed some of the Mayenas.
Yes.
Mayena
that was early days.
Yeah, so there's real uneasy, and I think all of this whole chapter is just setting up the mood and the history. I think that's about it.
Cool. Okay, I've got some bits and pieces to lob in here. It looked to me in Bulwer's interaction with Solande, like when he's sort of coaxing information out of her, like he was almost acting like he's already tutoring her or mentoring her. Like the dynamic between them seemed like that of a pupil eager to please someone who's sort of like guiding her on a path. Like he makes a suggestion, I think, about something she says, and she goes along with it and seems sort of pleased by the results or the fact. So like I think Bulwer's influence is already there on the Chafail. Which is awesome. I mean, who better to learn from than the master? I really thought that was a wholesome moment when Perrin compliments Solande, like telling her that Fail would be proud of them if she knew what they were doing, and she really took that to heart. Like she really got like some pep in her step after Perrin said that to her.
Yeah, well, that's Fael's point as well. Like, telling Perrin all the time, like, you're their lord. They look up to you. They respect what you say. Like, you've got to act like a lord all the time. So he's like, that's why he does it, because Fael's not there. And he's like, all right, I suppose I better say something and be all lordy. Yeah. And it works like a charm. Yeah.
Yeah. He's super effective at it. A new word for me. Sibilant.
I don't recall that. What does it mean?
It means he was talking about, I think, the sound of swords being sharpened or like tools being sharpened or something, and he referred to their speech as the word sibilant means a speech sound with a hissing effect. So it's sort of like this hiss of like blades being drawn against the whetstones and stuff.
Sibilant.
But yeah, sibilant. Never heard that before. It's like if you shh someone, you're also being sibilant. Perrin thinks to himself about, quote, the little matter of the broken crown that Elias let slip.
Yes. I
You
googled
guys know what
that.
that is? Good man.
I went down a rabbit hole with that. I was like, broken crown? Broken crown?
What is this?
What is what?
Uh-huh.
So, okay, you also have some background information, Moritz, I assume, since you brought it
I
up.
looked it up, so let's see if we found the same thing.
Let's see if let's compare notes. So, what I can tell is that there is this is the royal lineage of the Saldeans, the Broken Crown, and that Tenobia is the queen right now, but because she has no heirs, she cannot pass the crown on. And the next in line is Davram Bashir, and therefore Fail as his heir. And now she's married to Perrin, so like I assume in the future Perrin becomes like the royalty, becomes king of Saldea and reforges the crown. It's apt that a blacksmith is the one to reforge a crown. Yeah. That's what I figured. There's not a lot out there that I could find about.
No, there's not, and there's actually even like conflicting opinions and stuff.
Yeah.
Like some people I see refer to like the crown of Saldea is called the Broken Crown, like the Rose Crown in Andor, and the Sun Throne. Like they all have these names, but like the Broken Crown, some people refer to the Saldean crown as that. Other people think it is specifically referring to the broken line that Tenobia represents by not having, an heir. So yeah, it was just interesting to hear that. And Perrin's, the context of the comment is Perrin thinking to himself, everybody always said that wives kept their secrets close, but there were limits, like you might tell me that you are in line for the throne of Saldea when I'm marrying you.
Yes. And it was Elias who told him that. Like, he let it slip.
Yeah. He did.
Otherwise, he would never have known. Hang on, I'm going to go check that compendium book, and you guys carry on with the conversation.
Okay, I've got a couple of little tidbits.
Go for it.
When we read about Lamgwin here, Vil, Perrin thinks of him as Lamgwin Dawn. Have we ever heard Lamgwin's surname before?
I don't think we have.
I don't think so either. I think we've read about Lamgwin for so long, and I think this is the first time we hear his surname. Unless someone else can write in and let me know where you hear his surname first. It just sounded totally unfamiliar. Hey Joe, Lamgwin Dawn.
Yeah?
That's his
Dawn.
surname. Yeah.
Maybe like Dorne, as in the Southern Lands. No, okay. Anyway, so the compendium says broken crown, one sentence, the crown of the ruler of Saldea.
Okay.
That's
compendium says
the name of the crown
that is
of
canon.
the ruler of Saldea.
Nice one.
There we go.
Should have done that while making my notes. But anyway.
In that chapter, Balla almost sold himself out to Perrin.
All right.
He says in the end to him that he's much smarter and wiser than his previous employer. But then Perrin thinks like, okay, his previous employer, old lady that couldn't afford to keep him on. It's quite.
Was she wily?
Wily. So
Perrin's small town thinking, not realizing an old woman can be wily.
Yes, very. His words.
I don't think so. I think Perrin has enough experience with the Women's Council in Emmonsfield to know that is not true. Naive.
Probably. Yes. Yeah. No, he even old Brand's wife, what's her name? Mistress Albeit.
That's Mistress Albeit to you. You can't call her by her first name, Moritz.
That's true. Okay, what else? That's all from me. Should we move on to chapter 6 then?
Yes.
All right. Unanimous. Chapter 6 is called The Scent of a Dream. Vil, can you please give us your 2 cents in the form of a summary?
Muy bueno. I like
Thanks
that.
for this soft clap. Thank you.
Golf
Okay,
clap.
they might as well call this the scent of a woman. Perrin. We are still in the snow with Perrin, exactly where we were in the last chapter, and we're just cruising on. Perrin has now put Stepper into a gallop into the forest. We hear a long story about how risky the forest is as a site. There's a lot of bad things in the forest.
Words to live by.
Perrin is
There are
waiting
bad
for his
things in the
scouts.
forest.
He's waiting for the scouts to return. That's all that he's fueling him at the moment. But at the same time, he's also okay. It would also be stupid to break Stepper's hocks on in a gopher hole. What are those things? So he slows Stepper down.
Groundhogs.
And yes, groundhog or badgers.
Mm.
We know badgers live there. There's definitely badgers.
A hole of some animal's hole.
Do badgers
Yes.
make holes?
Yes, they do. And they make.
I'm
I'm
not looking that up.
On YouTube, there's a guy that catches badgers with bare hands. It is insane.
Oh wow.
Badger catcher.
Anyway,
Is he on mushrooms,
they're
probably?
like the English version of the ratel, honey
yeah.
badger, but
Yeah, those things are
not nearly as
badass.
ferocious. No,
Yeah.
I mean it's just their version.
Yeah.
Is it Nick Cummins, the rugby player? Affectionately known as the Honey Badger, who hosts the show. Because that would be great.
Anyway, speaking of animals and pests, Aram is immediately Perrin's shadow again as soon as he slowed down. That's when Stepper really becomes uneasy. And Perrin had to take a bit of control of Stepper, and he smelled the wrongness in the smell. And as he expected, he found the darkhound tracks, and then it all clicked in his head, the scent and the dream and everything. It's an hour ago. Aram pulls out a sword. He's going to battle sword the darkhounds.
Battle
"Put
sword
that
then.
back, you fool!" And tells him, he's not gonna do much with that against darkhounds, which made Aram, smell like anxious fear, which he should.
That's right to do.
Darkhounds,
Yes.
not to be trifled with.
No.
Then that sends Perrin off into chapters long of daydreaming about balefire and moraine and how to kill darkhounds and what are darkhounds and yada yada.
Souls of slain wolves.
Yes, long histories. Anyway, we read it all. Perrin then gets Aram to go off and warn the other people that there is darkhounds. That's going to go down well. The tinker with the sword coming to tell all of them with darkhounds. I can only imagine the ragging that followed. But Perrin decides he's going to just set off and he's going to track where the darkhounds end. Really large pack. And it's Perrin follows the trail. It heads west, and it shows basically by the time that Perrin's done is the darkhounds had circled the entire camp where they're staying. So they were there, but they didn't take anyone. So their motive is somewhat different. While Perrin is back at his full circle where he went, there's about 50 or 60 horses, then about 100 paces ahead that he sees that start coming, and that's the Mayena riders, with the winged guards. The wise ones are there, the Aes Sedai are there, and Perrin is there immediately.
This is all like early morning, right? Like,
This is they going out on their morning ride. Perrin had gotten out before sunrise. He had found the darkhound tracks and basically sent Aram to go tell them the whole story, and he tracked.
What a way to start your day. Conversation with Bulwer about Masema meeting Aes Sedai and then riding into the forest and finding Darkhound. Great. Cool. Like, not like my wife isn't kidnapped or anything.
No. Perrin admires Berylaine's dress, and he thinks that, I think of the night that they spent together. Well, the rumors of the night that they spent together.
Yes, Willie.
Perrin really thinks that Berylaine's a good rider. She handles her horse very well.
What's
and,
your face? Do you think it's meant to be written provocatively? Or is that just your Willy brain in like mine close behind you?
No, it's just like I'm telling the perspective that I read in the book.
Fair enough.
She gives him smiles. He gives her smiles back. They act like they're flirting when they meet each other out of hearing range from everyone. And she brought him food. It's like a love chapter. She rides out in the snow. He admires her.
What's his rationale again for like playing along with, like, why does he have to make it seem like they are friendly or flirty?
Because he's got no foot to stand on. There's no way
in this specific instance
quash it because she won't.
Yes,
because she tells him
specific
to.
Instance.
Because she's come. The food is a pretense to talk to secretly, and he must play along so that they don't.
Yeah.
The people behind it don't
freak out about.
Don't think that they're up to something. They're just playing along with the rumor. They're just flirting.
Okay. Yeah, I remember thinking Perrin felt like he had to put on this like whole show for everyone.
Yes.
Like he looks over at Galena and like all the other guys all the time who are just fucking death staring him.
The two Rivers men are still standing there, spitting into the snow, seeing that he's talking to him. Either which way, Berylane feeds him with some wood hen and bread. And inside, the feeding is actually a ruse to show him the document, but not really. It's made with love. She also reprimands Perrin for thinking that he can smell like the help and not take care of himself. He should be a lord and at least smell nice for her. Perrin definitely agrees because he smelled her cleanliness the minute she arrived. But she reminds him that he's supposed to still act the title of a lord. Which then he reminds like his previous wife, the one that got stolen. She also used to tell him to. But he's forgotten about her. It's been 22 days.
His previous wife, he's totally forgotten about by now. Yes.
Berylane, okay, but she has also done some good things. Berylane has sent Masema's men to go and spy on in the camp. Berylane has sent her thief catchers to Masema. That words came all out the wrong order. And they went with some cask of wine that they stole, in quotes, and they did make some friends and they did snoop around, and they also stole a letter in a locked drawer that it gives Masema a pardon against the Seanchan that Suroth had given him. So, dun dun dun, as suspected.
I wonder what her game is.
There's a game at Goya. Perrin is warned not to open it up so that everyone can see he's got a letter. But she is in a predicament because the second night they were sent in with the last of the good wine, and they have not returned. Though they could be sleeping it off still, but
it's not like them.
It's not.
They're sleeping it off 6 foot under.
They're sleeping with the fishes.
Yeah.
What swims in snow?
Badgers.
Snow foxes.
They're in a badger hole.
I'm going to go with badgers. It seems better. Anyway, Perrin is just stoked that this news will definitely get Masema hanged. I mean, he's a traitor. He is conspiring with Seanchan. But you can't just go out and how did you get the letter? Like, you got to build a solid case. But Perrin is just, hang Masema. We'll find a way. He's trying to think of ways how he can say to Masema he got the letter. But any which way, Anura
So he's
knows
got like that
letter.
information coming from two different places, so he knows it's legit, right? So from the Chafail and from Perrin.
Yep. Now, Anura is aware of the letter, and her advice was to give her the letter, and she will say that she made it disappear or something of the sort. To which Perrin's like, okay, was she Aes Sedaiing you? Perrin really standing up for Lane now that they are partners, and like, okay, checking in that she's not being Aes Sedaied and wooed.
Bullied.
Anyway, Perrin hides the document and starts, as I mentioned, starts thinking of the foolish lies that he can tell to how he got his hands on this to really get hold of Perry Lane. Now this is where we also learn that Perry Lane is also aware that Anura and Masuri has been meeting with Masema, and it would appear that Perry Lane did not know when this information. So it's not with her consent. There's something else on the go there.
Because Perrin asks Perrin about it, right? Like, why is Anura going to meet?
Yeah,
and
is
that what happens?
It's one of the two. The Perrin brought it up because of the information he got from the Chafail, but the reaction from Perrin doesn't make Perrin believe. I mean, we've got pages of monologue going on when Perrin analyzes Perrin's smell and hair color, the shape of her full breast. There's so many things that runs through his head while they're talking there and the back of the pages.
He never trusts his scent about her. Like he always gets a scent from her and then questions whether, how could it even be possible? It must not be right. She's the only person he does that with. She actually smelled determined, or no, can't be. Not Perrin. Stuff like that.
Perrin does every now and then just wake up to the surroundings. He realizes that even now the wise ones are standing ankle deep in snow, will not ride a horse. Ayo, weirdos. With regret, Perrin breaks off from his flirting with Lane and suggests to her that they should join the group now. And they go back and they go hang with the gang. There's darkhound talk and there's jokes about darkhounds and people salting their ears. But
that's my chapter, bro.
Yeah. Same.
yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Shut up, Jody.
But Perrin puts all that jokes and talk to rest with the slab that he picked up. He was clever enough to take some evidence, a stone, and everyone is gasp, and it's the end of the chapter.
Yeah.
I don't know how accurate any of that last 5 minutes was. I don't think he didn't carry a slab.
Carry a stone. No, there was a big rock.
Showed them.
They're all standing outside of the camp in the trees in the forest.
He carried a stone tablet with him.
Like Moses. Was it the 10 Commandments?
But with a big paw on it, it's like the fucking Paw Patrol.
Yeah.
It is the paw print though on the rock. It's like a rock outcropping. I imagine it almost like a small version of like Pride Rock from Lion King. You know, like it was a vantage point that one of the darkhounds stood on to survey the camp or something. But the paw print is bigger than Perrin's hand.
Yeah.
And Perrin would have really humongous hands.
It's a beefy hound.
I mean, if Perrin would put his
beefy
hands
good boy
on Perrin's back,
so
he would like cover the whole of her back with her hand.
His hand.
With his hand, yes.
Her naked, smooth back, Willie. Is that what you're insinuating? All right.
Yes.
Ridiculous.
Like that night, 22 nights back in the tent.
Right. I hear you.
Anything else from you, Joe?
Yeah. Just to clarify, I don't know. I kind of, anyway. Berylane does not know about Anura. When he tells her,
Yes.
and he can tell, she kind of like zones
He just
out.
assumed that Berylane had sent her. And I think he asked her, why are you sending Anura, or why is she doing it? And then, so this is the beginning of the Anura Berylane thing.
Perrin being like ahead of the game and sharp.
Perrin has
Because
information
in a
that
lot of
Berylane
his-
doesn't.
Mm.
The Chafael told him, we saw 2 Aes Sedai, Masuri, and Anura. So Perrin goes to Berylane and goes, why is Anura in Masema's camp? Thinking that Berylane would have sent her, or at least they would be in cahoots. But Berylane, from her reaction, seems not to know about it at all. And Perrin notices that. Pretty sharp, old beefy boy.
He is. When he puts on his thinky hat.
Yes. And here he has, when he says he's going to run an idea past Bulwer. Like, yes, start using Bulwer now. Like, this is after in the previous chapter they had that conversation. Now he immediately thinks of something. He's like, okay, I'm going to go talk to Bulwer about this and explore this idea a bit. Which I was thinking is like, yes, great idea. Do exactly that. And then I had a good chuckle at like everyone right at the end laughing, as Willie said, at Aram's tales of Heartsbane riding the woods on the wild hunt and then shutting the hell up when Perrin shows them the paw print. Like everyone's like, oh, Aram's told us tall tales. So, Heartsbane, in the wild hunt. And then Perrin's like, well, check this out. They all shut up.
That's exactly how he said it as well. Well, check this out.
Check this out. And then if there's nothing else, we should just go straight into your chapter, Jody, because it picks up like in that beat, in that moment, it spills
Literally
over. So
there.
chapter 7 is called Blacksmith's Puzzle. Joe, what have you puzzled out in this chapter?
Nothing. It's pretty straightforward. You don't have to puzzle anything. It's clearly laid out. It's my first sentence is no one's laughing now.
Yeah.
And Aram is pretending he was never scared to begin with, and he's being all douchey about it with his like
Ridiculous.
smirky. Yeah, like shut the fuck up, dude. You were also scared. Perrin tells everyone that the darkhounds are gone. Not to worry. Also, I can't tell you how I know that because you're not going to believe me. And I'm kind of like, people know you have wolfiness, But anyway, they know, so they just believe him. He doesn't have to explain it. They sort of believe him. They're gone, okay, but they may come back. So everyone's kind of like looking around and a bit anxious. You can't just tell them darkhounds exist and then expect them to be cool with it. Missouri is there. She is super keen to investigate, so she jumps off her horse to check it out. This paw print. Well, this is different. You see, I think we're talking about different paw prints because she's at a stone now because he's obviously taken them to another stone where there's multitudes of paw prints all overlapping each other in the stone.
I think they moved around, like
Yeah.
following them or tracking them.
But anyway,
There
there's a different.
there was
different
50
stone.
hounds in that
Yes.
that horde pack.
That completely encircled the camp. So yes, there are paw prints probably on almost every single rock exposed in the snow.
Yeah, so it turns out from Villie's chapter that the path of these darkhounds comes up from the south. They're going north. They came past them, circled the camp 3 times, and then carried on north. So he's like, all right, well, they had a good look at us and decided not to kill us, so it can't be me they're looking for. Because obviously you would think he would think it's him. Having
Okay.
met darkhounds before.
50 darkhounds would cause so much
Who
damage.
is their prey, their target? Any
There
thoughts?
is much speculation on that.
Joe, I also read up about it. I'm glad you have. It's a good question.
No one knows, Villie. It's a big secret.
Fine.
Payton Fane is one of them. The others are Rand.
Honestly, that's where I'm leaning, is Fane.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rand is another one.
Because he is, like, very soon going to be channeling a whole bunch of... But I suppose they don't know yet.
Now,
The Darkhounds
When
wouldn't know.
Slayer kills a wolf in the wolf dream, does their souls become darkhounds?
No.
Not automatically, I don't think, but that
After a
can...
period of time.
No,
No.
if he
In this
kills them in
chapter-
real life... Yeah.
Masuri explains exactly how Darkhounds are created. Or someone
Please
explains.
enlighten us, Jody.
Yeah, wolves only become Darkhounds if they are killed by a Darkhound and it eats their souls.
Ah.
Like right then. It's standing over your body and then sucks their souls up.
Like
Like
a
that.
dementor.
Yeah, it's like a Dementor, exactly. So you have to be, a wolf has to be killed by a Darkhound, and as it's dying, its soul is sucked up. Because if it's already dead, like a Darkhound comes across a dead wolf, it's too late. Soul gone.
Yeah.
In the wolf dream.
Yeah. There is a special consequence to Slayer killing wolves in the wolf dream, though, and that is just that
they die forever. That's it. Gone.
they're forever gone now.
Cut out
Soul.
the pattern.
Yeah.
Gone skis.
Yeah, don't do that.
It's rough.
Yeah. So anyway, back to Masuri. She's investigating. She jumps over a horse. She's like, "Oh, sweet, paw prints," and then realizes, "Oh wait, I didn't ask for my wise one permission to do so." So she kind of looks back at them, and they like give a little bit of a dramatic pause to show that they have power, and then go like, "All right, go ahead." So she walks over to the paw prints, all red faced that she had to ask permission. In the rock, and starts to channel over them, like waving her hands. This is from Perrin's point of view, so she's just waving her hands. He can't see shit, but he assumes she's channeling, and that other channelers can see what she's doing. So while that's going on off to the side there, Galene tries to calm the mood a bit by pretending not to be scared so badly by these things, and threatening to, here it is, Willie, sprinkle salt on their ears, as the story says, will make them disappear. And a few of the men give a little uneasy chuckle. He's just easing the tension, baby. Speaking of, they're filming Happy Gilmore 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, didn't know that. Only found out yesterday. So anyway, he turns to Berylane, Galeen, that is, giving Perrin a little fuck off, this is going to be private conversation look, which Perrin understands and then ignores entirely. He's like, fuck you, I'm in charge. You can talk in front of me, I'm the boss.
Oh, he's making that face. Interesting.
Whatever. Galene, I'm going to say, assures Berylane that her men will keep their nerve, like, we've got your back. But there are other dangers surrounding them, so she may want to reconsider her plans to rescue Fail. Like, supplies are running out, and they're surrounded by enemies, and Perrin is pissed. He's like, what, you want to abandon Fail, you son of a bitch? But before he can say something stupid like I just said, Berylane tells him there will be no changing of any such plans. They will rescue her, even if they have to fight through 1,000 darkhounds and Trollocs on top of them. And this time, her men give a loud cheer, thrusting their lances into the air and everything. She's like, yeah, Berylane. And this is where Perrin smells their fear, but also now determination, and also determination from Berylane, which surprises him. He's like, she's determined to find Fail? Like, yeah,
that's what I mean. Like, he's always questioning his smells of her. She's always showing that she's actually trying to help him, at least to the reader, like through Perrin's, senses. But Perrin doesn't trust them.
He should.
He doesn't trust her.
Yeah, well, I mean, he shouldn't trust her.
Berylane can cut Fail's throat if she
trust
gets
his
to her
senses.
first and they rescue her. So, I mean, just...
But I mean,
yes,
his nose
go.
doesn't lie.
Let's go get her. Let's go get her. We go get her. We get her dead. Cut off her head.
Yes, that's
She
what
was
they
pretty
scream.
harsh. She was pretty harsh to Fail when they had their encounter, and like when she says to her that she's just going to take Perrin from her and use him as a toy. Like she's pretty full on back then. That could have been heat of the moment, just trying to be hectic.
Possibly. But yeah, he should trust his nose, because his nose is never wrong. Like, his nose can't lie.
No.
As Gandalf said,
Shakira
always
said.
trust your nose.
You went with Gandalf, I went with Shakira.
Shakira?
Hips don't lie.
Oh, hips don't lie. All right. Oh, well.
And Gandalf didn't say, trust your nose. He said, follow your nose.
Jesus, that is pedantry. You're spending too much time with Moritz.
Yes, excellent.
Yes. So, anyway, he also, the Perrin sees Berylane here as her, like, true ruler self coming out, in this moment as she's rallying the men. She's regal and commanding respect, like she's sitting on the horses if the horses are thrown and all that kind of stuff. And he has to remember that she is actually a queen, not some backstabbing bitch that's trying to ruin his marriage.
A very good rider.
Of horses.
Dressed with a nice coat and red trimmings.
Exactly. Trimmings.
Smells clean, fresh.
Uh-huh.
Fuck, you sound so much like a creep right now.
Because she had a bath, dude. She's a queen.
Yeah.
She's got a bath. Anyway, Masuri has finished her analysis, by the way, while all this other cuck's been going on, of the paw prints, and she is lost in thought, as Browns tend to do. Berylane has to ask her 3 times what she's found before she snaps out of her reveries, and Masuri looks to the wise ones first before, for permission to speak before answering, and they're like, get on with it, like, we didn't let you do this so that you could shut your mouth. And again, she's embarrassed. But Missouri is now in her element. She's like, oh, sweet, lecture time, bitches. It's time for you guys to learn. So she goes full professor mode. Turns out she's been studying darkhounds for many years now. In fact, Convenient. She knows of 7 packs that have crossed paths with her. 5 of them she's come across twice, and 2 of those packs thrice. She mentions old writings that say that there are only 7 packs in total, but she can now disprove that because this pack is new to her. They all have like a specific scent, smell, feeling, sense, whatever. She can't put a word to it, but
using her little snowflakes.
Yes, they are. So now there's at least 8. She gives them a history lesson of all the stuff she's read, like old writings and old tales that tell of the 100 packs of the Shadow's hounds and hounds born of the Shadow in numbers like unto the nightmares of mankind. Very well written stuff. Really chills the bones. But she thinks that's an exaggeration. Apocryphal is the word she uses. The second bit of info is that this pack had around 50 darkhounds in it, which is more than usual, apparently. Definitely more than Perrin saw in his last encounter, where he shot one of them 3 times in the eye with an arrow. From her CSI investigations, she also concludes that this pack has been on a hunt for their quarry for a long time and are growing impatient. Apparently, she can smell or sense or whatever their impatience as well through her magic weaves. Turns out as well, because you got to remember that they never hunt randomly. They are always sent on a mission specifically for someone, Fane, whoever you want to assume is their target this time. Whatever their target is, it is not Perrin. And she gives like a little flicker of her eyes towards him, like wherever their target was is not here, and then kind of like just glances at Perrin quickly. Based on what she's discovered, they will not come back, and they are already an hour gone. So everyone's like, oh, sweet. And Perrin's like, yeah, I just said that. But they believe her. Lecture over. The test will be on Monday and will include 50 multiple choice questions and a 5,000-word essay. Go. Everyone is bummed.
Dang.
Yeah. Except for the wise ones who give their nod of approval. They're like, hey, good job, little girl. Is basically their stance on this. In the far distance, noticeable to Perrin's ears only, he hears his scouts' bird calls, warning of dangerous armed men approaching. But he waits until the calls get a little bit closer for like regular people's ears to hear, and then he asks, hey, whoa, did you hear that? And again, I'm like, dude, people know that you can hear really well. You don't have to hide it. But he's trying to keep it on the low down. Anyway, it's Masema from the calls. And coming our way directly. Galeni is like, shit, puts his helmet on, howling curses, readying people for battle. He's like, all right, let's make a run for it. Let's head for the trees. And Berelane's like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not running from that prick. Galeni's like, why do you even keep me around? You ignore everything I say. So it's like, whatever. Starts screaming orders again, arranging the men, like tries to form a circle around her. And she's like, no, next to me. He's like, Jesus, God damn it. Anyway, one soldier he sends back to camp for reinforcements. He's like, I don't care what you say. That guy's going to go get more lancers. Anura is moving off as well to Berelane when Masuri summons her. Yeah, it's more of this weirdness between them, yeah. And Masuri's like, no, come here. She's like summoning her. So I assume Masuri is higher in the power than Anura?
I think it's stated that Anura is quite weak. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. So anyway, Masuri's like, hey, come here. And she's like, oh, fuck, eventually. So she does. She tries to ignore her, but the second time she does come over. And they have like a little private conversation that Perrin can't hear. And whatever it is, Anura's not happy about it. But anyway, they both then head over and go and stand there by Berelane. So, Perrin knows what they are up to. So his brain is just racing now. It's like, what are these guys up to? The wise ones have also been whispering amongst themselves again, so Perrin can't hear what they're saying. You see, they do know you can hear really well. And so he asks them, like, hey, man, what are you guys planning to do? So they give him some snarky reply, like, we're planning to keep everyone alive, and we're planning to do this. And he's like, whatever, just don't do anything unless I tell you to. They all lol. They're not taking that from him. It's like one of the wise ones, I forget her name now, is even disgusted that he said that is the expression on her face. He's like, hey man, you know that you are following me. Like Rand gave you orders to listen to me. But anyway, this is not the time. So Perrin is not keen on this confrontation so far from his camp and the main forces, this confrontation with Masema. So he knows Masema knows that they have the Sean Chan letter. And he might be coming to reclaim it and just kill them all. And they are quite outnumbered, 3-1 actually, as he sees them coming over the hill. He thought maybe it's going to be 100 to his 50, but it's more like 300. Perrin smells determined, and Aram smells excited. It's like, yes, of course Aram smells excited. I would just send him. Just run off with your, your sword on your head. Go.
Leroy Jenkins.
Exactly. Leroy Jenkins this shit. And then you just get rid of him as well at the same time. It's a win-win. Masema and 2 others break off their little pack of 300 and head over to them. And Masema, when he arrives, just smells of pure insanity. He is gone. He addresses Perrin, Berylane, and the basket of food, asking if they are on a picnic. So he's heard the rumors too, and he's poking that bear. We all know what happens when you poke a bear. They tell Masema of the darkhounds, but he doesn't seem or smell worried. He only says, well, the shadow can be found everywhere. Like, well, he's not wrong. But Masuri gives him a little lecture on how fear is useful, and while Anura looks like ill on her face. So Perrin's looking at Anura thinking like, is she freaking out now because she knows the jig is up? Like, but we never find out anything about it at this stage. Masema has also found something, he says. A town about a day's ride back that escaped the Aiel and is now ready to be raided by them. They escaped Aiel raids, now it's Dragonsworn raids. It's like we should go back. They apparently were hiding their grain and not selling it off, waiting for the prices. Now they're these greedy bastards, so we should go and teach them a lesson. Parents like, we're not going back a day. My wife is the other way around. And also, this smells like a trap. Why hadn't Masema already just sent his own men to raid it? Like, why are you coming to me to offer it to us? Out of the goodness of your heart? I doubt it. So Perrin tells him, maybe we'll go after we rescue Fael. First, they rescue Fael, and then we can go fill our bellies with all of this overpriced grain. Just then, the reinforcements arrived that Galeni had sent that guy to fetch. It's a shit ton of people. A long line of lancers that are from like them to down where the army of, where Masema's men are waiting. And then in between the trees, Perrin notices the 2 Rivers bowmen like running around, like taking up positions. And he thinks that's actually too many. Now he's worried about the camp that they left back home, back undefended, basically, with all of these people. So this could have been a ruse to meet them here, to empty the camp. And so now he's blacksmith puzzling. His brain can't handle it. So Masema looks unfazed by all the soldiers. I mean, he sees them coming, but he is not worried at all. Yeah. But he does give Perrin a warning that the only thing that matters is the service of the light, and that everything else is trash. Like, he's very hectic about it. Like, what's you saying? Saving my wife is trash? Like, everything is trash that is not service of the light. Before riding back to his own men.
He's crazy as a fox.
That dude, bro. Arganda is the officer that's leading the reinforcements, and he's now approaching after Masema has left, but he sees something off in the distance and gallops off in that direction before he reaches them, because he has seen a rider approaching with an Aiel beside him in snowshoes. The scouts have returned.
Dun, dun, dun. Vinny, did you have anything you wanted to say about that?
I do, and I don't have nothing fit. First, Masema.
Good man.
Everything in the service of the light, yada yada, blada blada. Then they run back, cutting up the still live horse, just dragging the dead man under him, because when they came charging in, one of their horses stood in a badger hole and broke his leg off by the arse. And this half-dead horse is lying on the very dead rider. They chuck the very dead rider just in the veldt, like the 4 quarters of the horse to eat and ride off. That is Masema in a nutshell. But there was
pragmatism. There is no meat, and that dude's dead. Obviously. I mean, where else are you going to throw him? He doesn't fit in a badge.
True. But the whole point of that whole episode is to show like these like feral humans.
Not having it.
They truly are feral.
Yeah.
When Perrin says no to Masema, backtracking one day, they can eat after they filled their bellies. Masema looks at him and says, "Your wife." So yes, he is aware of his Berylane affair. It's even
he says your wife staring at Berylane.
Yep, staring there. Now, what else did I have there? Wow, there was a lot of dark. Now I tried to interject with the bird calls while Jody was. I don't know if it came through. Did you guys hear it?
No, it didn't.
Let me put my gain up.
No, it's going to be on the recording, I imagine, but... All right.
It sounds like a video game sound effect of like a ninja with a katana slicing a brick wall. Like
that
an
is
8-bit
the
system.
blue tip.
That specifically.
Yes.
So, the house sparrow, you've heard it, the masked sparrow, house sparrow, just chit, 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 basically.
Probably.
Street canary. So, I don't have
Street
that one.
canary house sparrow. Okay. What else? Is that it, Phil?
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't really lots there. They were in one spot talking on horses.
Yeah. Let's see. What did I have here? Also, just like a smattering of minor observations. Perrin thinks that the wise ones look no more than a few years older than him. But they had the self-assurance of women with far more years' experience. Does Perrin know about the slow aging? Probably not, right? Like he hasn't put two and two together. So they are much older. They just look slightly older. I'm
pretty sure he says those words. Hang on, I'm going to go consult the holy texts.
Okay. I had one note about just imploring Perrin to trust his senses, as we have already discussed, like when Berylane smells determined, just accept that she is. Spoke about Anura and Masuri. I also think that Masuri is more powerful in the one power. Who's the other Aes Sedai? Is it Sionid and Masuri who are sworn to Rand under direct control of the Wise Ones? Right. So what I think is playing out, and this could be because of some comment I read somewhere on the internet, but what sort of rang true for me there was that it could be Masuri using her strength in the one power to command Anura to adopt their same stance with Aiel, to also learn from the wise ones like they have been, because when Masuri calls Anura over or stops her from going forward and speaking, the wise ones give a smile and a nod of approval. And I think it's because, Masuri and Sionid, everyone knows they don't act unless the wise ones tell them to do something. So by bringing Anura into their tutelage as well, I think they're like, yes, bring Anura in. She can also be an apprentice to us. We will teach her just like we're teaching you, and Sionid.
Okay.
Because it is weird. Because when they're also sneaking into the Dragonsworn camp, it's Anura and Masuri, which is an odd pairing. You'd think it'd be Sionid and Masuri, or Anura on her own, because she's often stood back. She's not sworn to Rand the way that they are.
She's still an absolute free agent.
Totally. People think, or had thought at one point, that maybe they were Black Aja, that they were meeting someone in Masema's camp who is manipulating Masema, pretending to be someone else, because later in the series, there's actually, Masema has a vision of a person that he believes to be Rand, or the creator, or the dragon, or whatever. But he gives Masema an order, and people think it could be a Forsaken, could be giving instructions to Anura and Masuri, who have no obvious other link. My only question to that would be that it's unlikely that these two came from those vastly different places. Remember, they ended up in Chiron in vastly different circumstances, which is why Sionid and Masuri are sworn to Rand and Anura isn't. She just came with Berylane. So it's unlikely that they would come so far apart and then together, and then Anura and Masuri would know that the other is Black Aja. With the way that the hearts are set up. It's
that
complete happenstance that they came together. And so wouldn't divulge to the other one that they are Black Aja, even if they knew the other one was. Like I think that even then they wouldn't necessarily talk about it.
And anyway, if there was something like that at play, it would have added another 20 chapters to the prequel. I think that's where we would find that out.
Also, stuff that plays out later in the story that I have now read since looking into this, bring the focus a lot more to that relationship between Anura and Perrin, and doesn't go down this path. I think there's actually a part late in the series where Perrin straight up asks Masuri why she was sneaking into the tents and stuff, and she said her answer, whether it was true or not, but her response was she thought that he could be controlled, and that's what she was trying to do.
Berlin being of such a small country, I almost said a small house, but the ruler of a really tiny speck of land, you wouldn't imagine that the White Tower would also send as an advisor to her their best hand. I mean, it's not
No,
gonna,
not necessarily.
yeah, it's not gonna give them a lot of clout. So for all
No.
you know, Anora could actually be that irritating brown that they're like, geez, can we just send her to the furthest corner away on the map that we use
Sure.
to go and advise that hussy that just has men for breakfast to save her little country all the time. That's a perfect fit.
That could very likely be. That is not how I've read Anura thus far. I have read it to be a bit more just independent. She had, I think, brief interactions with Cadswain in Kyrian, where she predominantly, I think, just tried to avoid her for the most part. But up until this point, I have liked Anura.
Yeah.
I've got I mean, you just have to keep remembering she's a rogue agent at this point.
And also, she is Aes Sedai, She could be up to fucking anything. Anyway, let's leave poor Anura alone. Let's see how her little story unfolds. I thought to myself, sometimes Perrin is so dumb, but other times he is so smart. He's thinking to himself that if the wise ones are linked, Navarin would be the one leading it. Like he can pick out the natural one to take the lead. She might be the one that was talking to him. And just that Masema's men were 200 paces from the Two Rivers bowmen, well within their range. And I was just trying to imagine how far 200 paces is, and it's about 200 meters, which is a pretty long way in the trees.
Yeah, and mentioning as well that Masema has seen demonstrations of those archers, so he knows that he's
seen them in action.
Doesn't give a fuck.
No, he's crazy. He's lost it. Okay, that was all I had to say. We have one more chapter to go. Are you guys ready to move along?
Let's do it.
All right, so let's go then to chapter 8 called Whirlpools of Color. Vil, how about another colorful summary?
Okay, that's a better segue than the last one. Thank you.
I disagree, but anyway, continue.
Elias and a maiden has returned. And as quickly as Perrin can get to them, Arganda is hot on his tracks. They basically reach them at the same time, with everyone speaking over each other. Comical moment inserted in the movie. Yes, the Shido has been found. It's not good news because they are 40 miles away. And although they're not very well sentryed and set up, there is a fuck ton of them. There's at least 10,000 spear fighters. And Perrin knows, like, he could match them 1-for-1 maybe. But not this odds. That's them's poor fighting odds.
Yes.
That is like going up against Driekus Stilnox. Anyway, after doing the mental arithmetic, Perrin starts thinking, okay, but what, we've got wise ones. We've got Aes Sedai. Aram shows his stupidity. It's like, we'll hack them up, like we hacked them up in the Two Rivers. But Elias, the only other person there that does know Aram, pipes up. So how are you going to do that, hero? You're going to have a vice pins maneuver ready for them. And Aram is shamed and angry. Is the smell that you can get. Perrin gets off him. Alganda is pro ransom. What about a ransom? And even to this, Perrin is like, I will pay gold and rubies, and I can get Grady to open a gateway back home, and we can get it so she can put up the Tom for a ransom. But the wise ones, like, who knows? I mean, they are Shido. They might just take your ransom and not give you anything, or they might just turn on you and kill you, so you can't really trust them. So who will know? But Perrin again, like, I'm rich, I've got money, we can go get it. Perrin is straight up no ransom. Like, this is not going to happen. Because he knows if he goes in with force, the likelihood of her throat being slit and him ending up with Perrin is a lot higher this way. So he definitely doesn't want to take the peaceful way out.
No. The Shido need to pay for making Fail suffer, not profit from it.
No. So Perrin's like, look, he wants to seize the camp. And then he daydreams about a blacksmith puzzles for about 20 minutes while everyone's just sitting around him going like, the guy's like crazy. Yeah. Elias at this stage joins Perrin and says to him like, I assume if it wasn't for all of this happening around here, you would have told me about the darkhounds that I'm smelling. And that is the topic then that Perrin falls into. Yep, there's some lore about the darkhounds where Elias tells him they used to be wolves. They now refer to as Shadow Brothers. And stories of them needing to be at the last battle, and that's why the wolves need to be at the last battle to fight the Shadow Brothers. Perrin questions whether if the darkhounds can kill wolves and steal their souls, can they do it to them? Him and Elias, but Elias seems to believe no, it doesn't. I wouldn't worry about that, is actually what he says. So it's not definitive.
I got the sense that they just didn't even want to talk about it. Like, let's not even think about it.
Let's move on. And he changes the topic. But everyone is now ready to go. But Perrin wants to talk to Perrin. But Perrin will have none of it. But my notes are very not clear here. Aram has now finally returned with Grady, and the Two Rivers men are all ready to go. And it's gateway action time. They take some travel notes from where they travel from, and this very descriptive of how the trees are now cut and then cut again where they use the travel grounds. Grady is reminded that there's no margin for error here. Like, they've got to be pinpoint accurate because there's a lot of them around. Grady,
I want to get spotted by that massive Shido army.
Grady nods, scrubs his dirty hands through his dirty hair, and rejects any concerns, and also says that he's going to be better for this type of gateway. Who's the other one? Neil is with him. Neiled is not as strong as him, and he opens the gateway, and again you hear trees toppling over in the traveling grounds. Perrin is first through the gateway into a small clearing. They are on the shadow side of a hill, and they will have to crest the hill right into the sun, which is not perfect. Galeen and the Mayanas come through. Then there's a pause, and Perrin sort of like, whoa, he wants to go and see why it's like. Then all of a sudden Elias comes through with Arganda, and he's now not so gleamy and shiny men who seem pretty sourpuss about having to take off their shiny metal garments. Where Perrin himself admits that maybe he should stop daydreaming about Perrin so much, because he should have known to tell those guys to take off shiny armor, knowing that they're going straight into the sun. Slipping, Perrin, slipping.
It'll be fine. Should be all right.
Yeah. Anyway, stealth gauge is now stealth mode is engaged, and Elias is giving some orders. Now Gander isn't happy about that, so he has a little tiff about that. Galeen didn't bring any of his lancers. He left all of them. They're hopeless bunch of lancers without a horse, and this doesn't seem like a horse battle. So, yeah, not a lot of them through the gateway on this little mission.
Yeah, it's just a scout.
Yeah, and Galeen and Alganda is not doing well, having to move on foot because Elias told everyone to leave their horses with all of their high captaininess. They're not used to trudging through the mud and snow, I suppose, anymore. The two Aes Sedai, Sulin and Tuwanda, meet them, join the all pops out as they move down. And Elias says, "Oh, you're playing dangerous game doing that." And they're like, "Oh, sharp eye Elias," giving him a little chirp. But so they haven't moved yet. Is the update from the two maidens of the spear. They took more Wetlander guy shine in the little village that they have encircled, and then they set a lot of the other ones free to go. Perrin instructs, like, look, they got to get some of them so they can get some information about what and who is in control there. So they're crawling up onto the ridgeline now to have a good view, and they just realize how massive this shadow camp is. It is, look, it's one thing to hear the numbers, but it's a different thing to see 10,000 people camped in front of you. It's over a mile wide, rimmed around the small city. I don't know what you need to do in Randland to qualify as a city, because it sounds more like a village to me. But there's a high spire, so it makes it a city or a library. What
Doesn't that have a wall?
Down?
Stone walls, yeah.
City wall around it, which makes it a city.
Yeah.
So if you have a wall around your house, it's a city.
What's the rule in civilization, Joe? When we build a civ,
you need to have a library or a
town hall.
Town hall.
Town hall.
Town hall.
City hall.
Town. City hall, that's the one. That'll get you there.
Town hall will get you a city status.
I think it's the Aiel. It's not just 10,000 Aiel; it's 10,000 spears. So it's even more Aiel.
It's 10 septs.
I'm just gonna say flat out, there's 100,000 people down there. That sounds.
I feel like I've read or heard that number before in reference to their Shido. Call back, I guess.
Anyway, the place is abuzz with activity. There are so many people. Anura and Marlene informs parents that there are many women also at the same time channeling.
Wait, who's Marlene?
Is she related to Tuwanda?
No, man. It's one of the wise ones that went with.
Marlene. Okay.
No, I don't know. Maybe I misspelled.
It could be. Hey, could be Marlene. I don't. I can't remember.
But there's a lot of channeling happening in the camp as well. Like, there's, to their estimate then, that Perrin wants to know how many wise ones it is at a later stage, turning around 500, 400 to be safe, some are apprentices. That is a lot. Anura is like, holy shit, half the tower in one camp that can channel. Look, this is numbers that's now shocking her, because she's also not seen the world really that much and been open.
And also, importantly, the Aiel have not been in this part of the world, right? Like, they've been in the West the whole time. She had no idea that the Aiel had this many women who could channel. It's more than double the number of sisters in the tower currently.
Yeah. It's like it's a gasping thing. It's like, Perrin, you want to take on basically the tower of women that can channel to protect themselves. Think about that.
Perrin knows he's boned.
So he gets told, this is an easy task. Take it easy. So Perrin surveys the whole landscape. The puzzle is referenced again. It's in front of him. He surveys the roads, everything that leads up to the town, and then there's a north road and the south road and yada yada yada. And then he notices like windmills and what looks like an arched bridge or a bridge with arches at the bottom. He asks what that is because he can see that it's not narrow enough to be a people bridge, and is informed that by Sulan that that's how they get water. So they've got an aqueduct from a lake that is further away that's being pumped through several stages to supply them with water. That is when the massive. So now time sync our watches to the end of the last book. Right now is when Rand and Nynaeve channels. Perrin gets the crazy color swirls and immediately sees the two of them doing their business, and he tells everyone to chill out because it is just Rand's business. And Anura just wants to go and get and channel. We should go there. We should make gateways. This could be the biggest thing ever. And Perrin's just like, nope, not happening.
We have our task at hand.
Yeah, we have a task at hand. Sulan is asked about catching some straying around Shido as prisoners to interrogate. She's like, even Shido won't talk. Like, I mean, do you have the time to torture them to the point of talking? I don't think that's going to work.
I do.
I'll think of something.
Yeah, and even if you do they even? How long will it take for them to learn shame? So it pretty much don't. And Perrin is faced with a puzzle to solve, and that is the end of that chapter. And also this little Perrin saga point of view.
I can't remember what the next chapter is about, but I guess we'll get there.
Elaine.
So, Joseph, anything you wanted to say about this event?
No, just about you guys arguing about Marlene. Marlene reminded me of Yvette and Marlene. Do you remember them from Jeffries?
Yvette and Marlene. Wow.
Yvette,
just those
Yvette
two.
Korf's sister, Yvette.
Those two names together sound so familiar. Okay, yes.
Yeah. They followers of the podcast. When I was in South Africa, on New Year's Day, they were calling each other. I was at her brother's house and put me on to say hi. And I was like, man, I haven't spoken to you in ages. And she was like, man, I hear your voice all the time on the podcast. So shout out to Yvette and Marlene.
Nice
actual human beings and listeners. Write in, say something, let us know. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's all I have to say on this.
On this chapter, that's what I got.
Yeah,
Marlene.
that's what
right.
Yeah.
Okay, I also have. I've got a smattering of notes here again. I just commented on Perrin's resolve to make the Shido pay. That quote of like the Shido need to pay for making Fael suffer, not profit from it. Like, okay, Perrin is pissed off. Just also speculating around who the darkhounds are hunting. Probably, I leaned towards Fane.
Yeah.
Interesting that Grady's gateways seem bigger now. Perrin remembers when he used to create them, he used to have to duck to get through them. Is Grady just getting more powerful? Because they say that the men jump up in power in like fits and starts.
Possibly.
Cool. Rad.
The more
Go Grady.
he has to do it, the more it's getting better.
I like Grady and Nield. What else did I have here? A little bit of Arganda and Galene rivalry is cool, since I know I told you guys once how their little relationship ends as well. You probably don't remember.
No.
Cool. Then I'm not going to say it again.
In these chapters, Perrin's talking about how much Arganda respects Galene, and that they smoke their pipes together, and they.
Yeah. In the beginning, they would like at each other's throats, right?
Yeah.
But now there is a mutual respect. Yeah. Let's see. What else was here? I can't remember. Perrin got this from either Galene or Arganda, who said, "Prepare for the worst, and all your surprises are pleasant ones." That's cool. Words. Yeah, this was going to be terrible, but this is a surprise. This is cool.
Yeah.
The aqueduct is how they fork route the town. Isn't it? Yeah. So when I read that, I was like,
things that I remember, like, it's one of my solid memories of the story.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, like, this is, I know, maybe I'm banging this drum too much, but, like, here it is, right here. Like you said, Joe, end of the last book, Fahil taken, beginning of this book, 22 days have passed. We found the camp. Okay, cool. Also, there's been darkhounds, and proceed. So I was pleasantly surprised by how quickly it happened. I think I messaged you guys when I got to it.
Oh, yes, you did. I think you said it.
Or maybe on a previous episode, actually, yes.
Yeah.
More likely. That's it from me. So if you guys have nothing else to say about that chapter, he asked.
Not more sort of the stretch of it, the four of it.
Yes, I mean,
analysis.
It's also a very short time, right? Like very little time has played out in these 4 chapters. It's Perrin, in the morning and later into the afternoon.
Time hasn't played out. We went backwards in time in the story. Like,
Yeah.
we are basically back to where we were last year, right when we did the finale, before we had the stupid long chapter prequel prologue.
True.
Right.
Yes. But I noticed it this time because I actually noticed that also about Elaine's chapters, like the like taking the bath and meeting with the Windfinders and stuff, which we'll all get to. It's also just a very short period of time, but it's multiple chapters.
I was going to say, like, our next session is also time stamped right here, right now.
Mm-hmm. So that's exactly like you were saying, Phil. Like, we're going to keep reading about this event. Okay, well, in that case, have you guys remembered to pick a favorite moment from these chapters?
Well, favorite moments. I mean, it's not really momenty stuff. There's
so many moments, Billy.
So many moments.
I want to expand on the slug and why it's themed the slug.
In your favorite moment?
In my favorite moment, no.
Okay.
But
before we get there,
we'll get there. This is the one of the likable characters. And
the slug.
We are constantly reminded that Perrin. Sorry,
okay.
We just covered Perrin.
Yes.
And
I thought you were referring to the slug as its own character.
No.
It's taken on a persona.
Yes. No, and throughout this, there's reminders of everyone, and we know how many people there's in Perrin. 3,000 fighters. So it's got there's 6,000 people there, and every single one of them thinks he slept with Perrin. And for 22 days, he's been making stupid decisions that's costing them time. It took them a week to figure out how to actually try and go about it. I think if you read it the first time, you go like, wow, really? This bad? Like, he's actually losing it. Maybe that plays into it. Like, I don't want to go through this trudging through the snow and silly decisions that's being made.
But isn't he actively saying that he's not losing it anymore? He's not acting impulsively anymore. He's now got a system. Like, if anything, he's becoming more focused. He's the hammer being forged, right? His anger with a purpose. He is the hammer now, it says, Like, it's this really obvious, he has this intent. So I don't feel like he's sort of getting worse. I feel like he's getting better.
No, he's getting better, but it's we're reading him through his worst. He's not Perrin, the general, the leader, the savior of the two rivers. He's Perrin, the adulteress. I have to save my wife, but we're not moving in a clever way. Is he deliberately not wanting to save her because it's Perrin? To the point where Perrin's men says, like, man, we should just go home. Like, what's this noise?
Yeah.
You've got your prize, take him with you. Let's just go home. This whole mission has gone south.
All right, so how does all of this tie to your favorite moment?
No, it doesn't at all.
Oh, it doesn't?
No, I didn't pick a favorite moment, so I had to just get some stuff off the chest.
Okay. This is now my favorite moment. Happening right here.
Okay, sorry. If you introed that, sorry, I missed it.
No, it was a segue. Before we get to the favorite moment, he said. So I assume you're getting to one, Billy? Or you don't have one?
I mean, Aram got told he smelled of sour grapes or something. I don't know. There was nothing really favorite in there.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Well, Jody, you made a very polite bow when I asked if you had picked one.
Yes,
What
it
is
was
it?
more respectful, but yes. Missouri's Darkhound lecture.
Lecture. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Yes.
I like to see her shine. Shame she's been so pushed down and pushed aside for so long and subjugated, and now she has a little moment to shine. And we learn about darkhounds, which is like my favorite, thing in this whole book. I have a long history with darkhounds, and it was good to get some like really cool info about them and history and all that.
Cool. Yeah. I feel like darkhounds could be the scariest shadow spawn. Like in a face to face. I mean, with fades, obviously they've got the whole teleportation through the shadows thing. That's pretty wild. Okay, that's pretty scary. Yeah. Also, the look of the eyeless is fear. But the darkhounds are just like, I mean, they've got that poisonous saliva. They're impossible to kill. That new special breed that Rand encountered in book 4, I think it was, sort of like broke to pieces and then like T-1000 just rolled across the floor and reconnected and became a darkhound again. 50 of them would wreck Perrin's army.
Yeah.
But would 50 of them and a worm? I mean, a worm would just like gobble them down.
Is a worm a shadow spawn? I guess technically, I think Agenor did make them. Oh, now I'm going to have to go look that up again. What are they called? Jumara.
Jumanjis.
Is it? Jumara or something like that. I don't know. Jumanjis, Jumari, Jumanja. Something in
Jumara, isn't that a town?
That's Jahana, maybe?
All right, that's a town. That's a city.
Yes. Okay, my favorite moment was when that exchange between Bulwer and Perrin. When Perrin comes clean to Bulwer and says, just talk to me straight. And Bulwer says to him, I think I like you. In fact, I want to read it quickly because it's actually really cool. So this is right after the conversation that Perrin and Bulwer have with Solande. And Bulwer sort of hints at how they could be used. So Perrin says, then do it. But Master Bulwer, you've been trying to guide me to this since Solande left us. From now on, if you have a suggestion to make it. Even if I say no 9 in a row, I'll always listen to a 10th. I'm not a clever man, but I'm willing to listen to people who are, and I think you are. Just don't try poking me in the direction you want me to go. I don't like that, Master Bulwer. Bulwer blinked and then, of all things, bowed with his hands folded at his waist. He smelled surprised and gratified. Gratified? As you say, my lord, my previous employer disliked me suggesting actions unless I was asked. I won't make the same mistake again, I assure you. Then eyeing Perrin, he seemed to reach a decision. If I may say so, he said carefully, I found serving you pleasant, in ways I did not expect. You are what you seem, my lord, with no poisoned needles hidden away to catch the unwary. My previous employer was known widely for cleverness, but I believe you are equally clever in a different way. I believe I would regret leaving your service. Any man might say these things to keep his place, but I mean them. That's fucking cool. Yeah.
But it's also what is not said is cool. Like
about who his previous employer was. Yes.
The previous employer's service.
Yeah.
Was it really a nice, like there's things in there that he's at least been swayed by Tverin to overspeak.
Yeah, quite likely. Because he does become very earnest here, and Perrin almost sees him making or coming to a decision in his mind, and then he says all this stuff, which is very forward. It's pretty good. But yeah, loved it. I had an honorable mention. When Anura is trying to say, we have to go, we have to travel to this thing, Perrin just raises his hand to Anura to make her stop talking immediately. It's like, I told you what it is, our work is here, conversation over. And he just shuts it up. Like her mouth is still open and she stops talking. Okay, so then to our listeners, send us your favorite moments, your theories, your corrections, recollections, or just say hi. You can do so using the social media links in the episode description, one of which is the link to our website where you can leave a voice message we can play on the show, or you can buy a t-shirt. Also, if you can find the time, please leave us a review or a rating on your podcast app of choice. Once that is taken care of, you can prepare for next time on Blood and Ashes, where we will do chapters 9 through 12. That is Traps, A Blazing Beacon. I mean, what could that be? Talk of Debts and A Bargain. We already sort of hinted at it before. A lot of Elaine coming up. And the dreaded Andorran politics.
Is that bargain got something to do with sea folk?
Yes.
Yes, there's this.
There
Guys,
is sea
I just
folk,
remembered I'm going to be sick in 2 weeks' time, so I don't know if I'm going to
and
be able to.
I can't have the last
one.
chapter again for a second time running in a row. So, by my
take it, I'll
my
take it.
calculation, it sounds like it's a sea folk Jody chapter.
Mart's already sent us the list. It's already done.
I'll go relook at it, but yeah, I mean, it's over quick. I think it's a band-aid.
It is
It's
you,
like
Bill.
40 pages of Zyda.
Love Zyda, strong woman.
Our favorite sea folk person. Yes.
Okay, well, with the thought of talking about sea folk for close to 3 hours, I will leave you, but say that you must sleep well and wake.
Goodbye,
Good night.
everybody.